What's up, everybody? It's Justin. Welcome to Live Ask Me Anything number 62. We're one day late on this one, so hopefully we have as many people in the room as we usually get, because these Ask Me Anythings always happen on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Central. Facebook.com/The Clovis Culture. You guys know the drill, right? I do this every Wednesday and have been doing this every Wednesday for 62 weeks. That's a long time. So I have done these no matter what's going on. I've done AMAs live from Mardi Gras in New Orleans. I've done AMAs from Puerto Rico. I've done AMAs from Chiang Mai, Thailand. I've done AMAs from all over the world. I like to not miss AMA episodes. But yesterday, Facebook, the company of Facebook, suffered, I believe, the biggest outage they've ever had. Facebook apps, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram all went down around the same time, midday, just global outages. And for me in particular in Tennessee, it wasn't a full-blown outage. It was just that about 80% of the services didn't work. I could open the apps. Sometimes I could respond to people. I was trying to post screenshots. No chance. I couldn't put any kind of screenshots to show people that Facebook Live wasn't working or anything like that. I couldn't go live on Instagram. None of the live features on Facebook worked inside of the groups or the pages or anything. So obviously I was not able to go live last night until Facebook got their stuff together. And I knew, it's Facebook. It's basically the biggest company in the world. So I knew that by the time I woke up, they'd have this thing all sorted out. Sure enough, woke up and there was good old social media. It was kind of nice last night. I just sat in my sauna for almost an hour and read a book. It was beautiful. Just kind of took the night off, right? So it's interesting what happens when these things shut down. We get to see, if you haven't listened to my podcast with Abel James, you need to listen to my podcast with Abel James. We talk about social media. And this was front page news everywhere. There were YouTubers posting videos about it. Facebook is down, Instagram is down. People were just absolutely losing their minds. It's kind of funny. I probably should have been losing my mind a little bit more, but I don't really care. So that's the thing. But I did realize that the vast majority of what I do with Clovis is on Facebook and Instagram. So I really couldn't get in touch with you guys. So I did an email blast to people who are on my email newsletters and just blasted out, hey guys, probably not going to be live tonight. I don't know if it's going to work. So at least I can communicate with you via email, but I did start thinking about some other things, and I'm building out YouTube on the back end. There's going to be a ton of YouTube content. I'm talking like hundreds of videos of me, moi, Justin from Clovis, all over YouTube. So I'm going to take over your YouTube channels soon here too. You're going to be seeing me everywhere. It's awesome. I love it. It's a lot of fun. Let's say what's up to some people. What's up, Laura? Hey, yay. We're here. Zig, what's up, man? Thanks for giving it a go tonight. Yep, sure thing. I'm missing jujitsu for you guys. How dare I? What's up, Anna? What's up, Kayla? What's up, Hannah? Deb's here. Ryan's here. Judy's here. Heather's here. Laura's here. Hey, everybody. Welcome. There's more of you that I can't see because there's definitely more of you in the room. But when I go, so I'm live on my computer, just doing this kind of casual. This is like a real AMA episode where you can just ask me any questions you have. If you have questions, start shooting them at me. Hopefully I have answers. I also started ama.iamclovis.com. That's a new website, ama.iamclovis.com, where you guys can just ask me questions in advance, and then I can pull them here. So I siphon those all into an Evernote notebook. I can look at them right now. I can just swipe my screen over. Boom, there we go. I can see some Evernote notes here. These are questions from all of you, and some really, really good ones. Really, really cool questions that I'm excited to dive into. So I guess let's jump in, right? This is AMA number 62. You guys know me by now. Those of you that don't know me, my name is Justin Nault. I'm the CEO of Clovis, Certified Nutritional Therapist, Certified Specialist in Sports Nutrition, Certified Specialist in Fitness Nutrition, and all-around dude who doesn't care about credentials. But anyway, let's talk about some stuff. All right, Lovely's in here. Cool. Stevie, what's up? All right, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm going to read a couple of these and just kind of pick one to jump into. Why not? So we have a wide range of questions. Maybe I'll ask your opinion here, right? We have everything from religion and spirituality, which is like, ooh, okay, that's touchy, right? I have a question about poop. That's it. I'm just gonna let that float out there for a second, but for real, like, straight up question about poop. I have a question about intermittent fasting. I have a question about extended fasting. I have a question about macros for kids, which you guys know, once I start talking about childhood nutrition, I start screaming like a lunatic. So we're going to see how that one goes. So you guys let me know what you think. We can talk about poop. We can talk about spirituality. We can talk about fasting and supplements. We can talk about women and carbohydrates, carbohydrate cravings, how to deal with them. We can talk about someone who didn't plan properly on the Clovis protocol and is having some trouble because of that. So I would like to touch on that one. Actually, you know what? Let's start with that one. So I'm going to read these questions to you. Okay, let's do this. So here's the question. It says, I use Carb Manager. So those of you that have a custom plan for me, you know that I recommend the app Carb Manager. So sorry, my allergies are killing me today. But the reason I recommend Carb Manager is because it allows you to track net carbohydrates automatically. So these other services that have bigger food databases, yes, like MyFitnessPal, don't calculate net carbohydrates for you. They give you total carbohydrates, but then you'd have to look up the fiber and do the net carbohydrates yourself. They really, really should add this. Really, MyFitnessPal, you don't do net carbohydrates in a world of fitness and nutrition. That's insane, right? So let's take a look. This one says, I use Carb Manager. Don't plan ahead, but now have an idea and check myself after work to be sure I hit macros. Often I'm short on carbs and having trouble finding something to up carbs, but not fat or protein. I'm hitting calories, fats, and proteins. No problem now. Blueberries is my go-to. What else? So I want to be clear. You've answered your own question here. So we're going to start right off the bat with a little bit of tough love because you guys know I love to give tough love, right? So tough love here. You answered your own question in like the first sentence of your question, right? It says, I use Carb Manager, don't plan ahead, but now have an idea, right? Don't plan ahead. So if you get a custom nutrition plan for me, there's going to be a very specific paragraph that says, this is your approved foods list. Take the time, sit down with this approved foods list, circle the foods that you love, or just look at your screen and write them down on a piece of paper, right? There's over 100 foods to choose from, right? So you choose the ones that you like the most. Then you look them up either on Google as nutrition facts or in the Carb Manager app or whatever app you'd like to use. If you'd like to use a different one, look up the nutrition facts for your favorite foods and start planning a day. This is why I love Carb Manager. You can just start punching stuff in and deleting it and changing the amounts and the quantities and the size. I want 8 ounces of ground beef. I want 2 ounces of ground beef and 4 eggs and 10 ounces of broccoli, right? And you can just experiment and find your perfect day. This might take some time. If you don't know much about food, if you've just been blindly doing the food pyramid or whatever for 10, 20, 30 years, this is going to take some time. It might take a couple hours. I don't care. Don't skip this, okay? So there's an email that I write to people that I call Teach a Man to Fish. Right? I don't give men fish. I don't give women fish. Men as in the human race, right? I teach men to fish. That's the entire concept behind Clovis. I hate meal plans. I've talked to you guys about meal plans before. I hate them. You don't learn anything. How many meal plans have you followed in your life and you still are trying to lose weight, right? It doesn't work. So you have to go through these steps. It's crazy for you to ask me, hey, I need foods that up my carbs and don't up my fats and protein. No, you need to go look at that. You need to look at the approved foods list, look them up for yourself, right? So I could sit here all day and be like, hey, olive oil, avocado oil, MCT oil, coconut oil, all these things, right? They're 100% fat. Grass-fed butter, 100% fat. Red meat, fat and protein, usually in like a 2-to-1 ratio. I could say nuts are carbs, fat, and protein. Mostly fat, very low carbohydrates, right? Some moderate protein. I could tell you that simple carbohydrates are 100% carbohydrates, but there's not a lot of simple carbs on the Clovis approved foods list. Virtually none, right? So something like a sweet potato is going to be mostly carbohydrates, teeny tiny bit of protein, like 0 fat, right? So sweet potatoes is really the go-to answer there in terms of carbohydrates, but you need to know these things. You need to know these things. And it's crazy to me. It's not your fault, but it's crazy to me that people have to come into Clovis and relearn everything they think they know about food. Right? Like if I walked up to a random person on the street and said, what are the macronutrients of a tablespoon of MCT oil or a tablespoon of olive oil? Most people would go, I'd be like, what are the nutrition facts of a pound of grass-fed ground beef? People don't know, like what macronutrients are even in foods? Like what is the sweet potato mostly made of? Fat, carbs, or protein? Most people could probably guess carbohydrates, but they don't really know. So I try to get you to relearn food. Literally, you need to know what is in foods and what aren't. So, and what is in foods and what isn't, right? If you need carbohydrates and don't want fat and protein, you should be able to guess some go-to things in your head, right? If you know that you need more protein, less fat, you should be able to guess some go-tos in your head, some lean proteins, right? You should know these things, but you need to learn it in order for you to really know these things inside and out, so I can give you the tools you need for long-term success. for being able to succeed at this Clovis lifestyle for the rest of your life, right? So teach a man to fish. That's what I take. So you need to absolutely plan ahead. Do not skip that step. That's the number one step that almost everybody skips. Drives me nuts, drives me bananas, everybody, because everybody does that same thing like a day later. Hey, I missed my protein today and it's 7 p.m. What can I do to hit my protein? And I go, okay, so you didn't sit down with the foods list. You didn't circle your favorites. You didn't plan an ideal day. You winged it. And the custom plan I sent you literally says in bold italicized letters, do not try to wing this. It will be much more difficult if you try to wing it. Plan ahead. Number one, right? So if I get these emails from you, then just automatically I'm like, I don't know if you even read the whole plan. And that makes me a little bit nervous, you know? So because the plan's very in depth. I've thought most things out. It's very detailed. So if I say like, hey, sit down and do this thing, you probably want to sit down and do this thing. I've really, really thought that out for you. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah, 10 grams of carbs for 2 ounces of sweet potato. Yes, that's awesome. Cool. There you go. There you have it, right? So it's very easy to come up with these things once you start looking at the list and looking up the nutrition facts. All right, what else we got? Okay, here's a quick and easy one. I like this one, and these two kind of go together. So alkaline pH water. Benefits, no benefits? Question mark. Answer. Nope. That's it. Just nope. I have a whole AMA about this called the alkaline myth, right? You cannot change the alkaline level, the pH level, right? The alkaline versus acid or acidic, right? The pH level in your blood, you cannot change that with dietary intake. So if you can't change the pH levels of your blood through dietary intake, why would you spend more money on something that claims to change the pH in your body? Marketing gimmick, 100%. And those alkaline waters are always more expensive. So go back and watch that one. I'm not exactly sure. Let me see. If I look up my trusty paste bot, you know what? I don't even know if I have it in here. I don't know which episode. Go to clovis.show, clovis.show, and search for alkaline. And watch that whole episode where I just debunk the alkaline diet and how you actually can't change the pH level in your blood. If you could impact the pH level in your blood through diet, you would die. Our entire species would have died a long time ago because most of the foods we ate in our ancestry were quite acidic, like red meat, right? Most of our caloric intake, 60 to 90% sometimes, was just animal proteins. So we would have died a very, very long time ago if you could shift your blood pH. But people test their saliva or test their urine and look, my pH level in my urine is different. So my blood must be different. It does not correlate at all. That's what the urine is for. The urine is there to excrete things from the body. It's the same way people pee on ketone sticks and they're like, I'm in deep ketosis. Well, not really. You're peeing out all the ketones because your body doesn't know how to use them. Once your body knows how to use ketones, you'll pee on a stick and it won't change colors. And you go, well, I must not be in ketosis. Then you read it on a blood stick and you're in deep ketosis, because you're not flushing the things out into your urine. What goes out in your urine is things that your body doesn't need that you're not using, right? So if you make your urine more alkaline, that says nothing about your blood. And you need to understand that. It's very, very critical that you get that, okay? So let's see what else we got. This goes hand in hand with this question here. So it says, you talked a lot about hydration in the last few weeks. I struggle being hydrated in the morning when I wake up. No matter how much water I drink during the day or even right up until bed, I wake up feeling super dehydrated. Any tips? Salt, electrolytes? Yes. The answer is always electrolytes. Always. I can pretty safely say that like 60% of the time, questions that I get, particularly people in the beginning when they're going through the detox, I'm going to talk about detox here in a second because I have another question about it. Electrolytes are everything, right? Everything. So you think you're dehydrated. You're probably not dehydrated. And I know you're not dehydrated because, well, you're technically dehydrated, yes, but not because of water intake. So in your direct question right there, you're just like, no matter how much water I drink, I'm dehydrated. Let me highlight those words for you again, for everybody else here who might be thinking about this too, right? No matter how much water I drink, I still feel dehydrated. So what does that tell us? Water alone is not responsible for the hydration levels of your body, for the hydration of your cells. right? Water alone is not responsible for that. In fact, electrolytes are actually more responsible for that. The number one electrolyte being associated with hydration is sodium, which is why I have people supplement with Redmond sea salt, right? To get you guys that level 3 to 6 grams, which is 3,000 milligrams to 6,000 milligrams of sodium per day, depending on your height, your weight, your, I guess, overall body size, how active you are. If you're super active, you're going to need more. If you're breastfeeding or pregnant, you're going to need more electrolytes, right? So the issue that you're having here, I'd be willing to bet that this particular person who asked the question, so most of you guys did this anonymously, which is really cool. So a lot of these answers are anonymous. A lot of these question askers are anonymous. But I would be willing to bet an astronomical amount of money that you are not coming anywhere near your 3 to 6 grams of sodium each day. So to give you an example, 3 grams of sodium would be about 1.5 teaspoons of Redmond sea salt. Now, I recommend that you take that in quarter to half teaspoon doses throughout the day, separate them by a few hours. I take 3 grams right in the morning, which is 1.5 teaspoons. I get it right out of the way, but I have worked my way up to that. If you have not been doing salt shots and you try to do 3 grams right in the morning, you're going to go to the bathroom and you're going to go poo-poo. It's going to be real fun, okay? By fun, I mean not fun at all. Just know that, okay? So you need at least 1.5 teaspoons per day. Break it up into quarter teaspoon doses to start, and just take that with like 6 to 8 ounces of water. You can put it on your tongue if you want. I put it on my tongue sometimes. I don't really care. In the morning, I put the 3 grams in about 16 ounces of water, use a little hand stick blender, right? And then I just drink the whole 16 ounces of water. So I start the day with 16 ounces of water and 3,000 milligrams of sodium from 1.5 teaspoons of Redmond sea salt. Man, I'm gonna have to make the show notes for this one super legit, just so you guys know, like, hey, go to that one particular episode, AMA 62, where he talks about exactly what he does with Redmond sea salt. So for you, I would say wake up in the morning, 8 to 16 ounces of cold water, and at least a quarter teaspoon of Redmond sea salt. And then a few hours later, do another quarter teaspoon. A few hours later, do another quarter teaspoon, or do a half teaspoon. So think about it like this: 1 gram for every half teaspoon of Redmond sea salt, 1 gram of sodium. So that's a really easy way to think about it, right? Super, super important. Your sodium is more in charge of your hydration than your water is, okay? Now, the water recommendation is that the general recommendation seems to be half your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you want to drink 100 ounces of water. That seems to be the general consensus. But honestly, if your electrolytes are up where they need to be, you may actually need less than that. If you're super active, if you're like a CrossFitter or training jiu-jitsu or something like that, you're probably going to need more than that, right? So that would be basically a baseline. If you want to just cover your bases, try to get half your body weight in ounces in water every day, and a minimum of 3,000 milligrams, 3 grams of sodium per day. I recommend from Redmond sea salt because it's awesome. It has like 530 milligrams of sodium per quarter teaspoon. It's fantastic. So you actually get over a gram with each half teaspoon. Awesome, awesome. Questions here. Hey, what's up, Sally? How you doing? We were talking at lunch yesterday, and somebody swears the salt makes them puffy. She said it makes her swell up every time. Is that because of salt? How can I respond to that? She's on the verge of joining us. Okay, so something to consider here. There's a lot at play here. The body works as a whole, right? So 1, I would like to see what would happen if she was to hit 3 grams of sodium each day, right? So she may be doing this once. This could be a sign that she is absurdly dehydrated. She may be dehydrated and it's causing her body to retain water, right? Now, it also could be that her water level is not adequate or not where it needs to be. So this is the thing. I don't get a lot of data from people. People will just say like, I did salt shots and I woke up the next day and I'm super swollen. Or I did salt shots and now I'm super swollen. It's 2 hours later or whatever. Any number of things could be going on here. You could have super intense leaky gut, right? You could have inflammation in the gut. This could be causing inflammation in the body if these things are just escaping out into the bloodstream undigested. So it could be any number of things. But I would be willing to bet if that person were to hit the recommended 3 grams and get half their body weight in ounces of water and do this for like, I don't know, a week, 3 to 5 days, maybe. I'd be pretty baffled if that didn't improve the problem or if that happened every single time she had salt shots. So there's a lot here. So the first week of Clovis is always tricky because so much can happen. And what I mean by that is your body's going to go through a drastic change. Now, I'd be willing to bet that this is somebody who's coming from a standard American diet, right? So the idea of just taking, it also depends on the dose of salt. So if they're just taking 2 grams of sodium or 1 gram of sodium, like right off the bat, and then drinking water, and they're, Or if they're eating a standard American diet with lots of processed foods, they may be taking in thousands of milligrams of sodium as is, right? So the thing is, you have to, okay, here's a good way to put it. Why do you need salt shots? You need salt shots when you switch to a low carbohydrate diet. So most people on a standard American diet probably get plenty of sodium. They really do, right? That's why the American Heart Association freaks out if you're eating a Hot Pocket and it has 600 milligrams of sodium and you eat 2 Hot Pockets a day and then you ate your caramel frappa latte, which had salt in it or whatever, right? So people are getting salt throughout the day on these high carbohydrate diets. So what happens when you switch to a low carbohydrate diet is the body actually excretes more electrolytes. So you need more electrolytes with the switch to a low carbohydrate diet. So this whole thing about detox. So I have a question about detox too. Let's talk about detox. Why is it that when you're going through a sugar detox, you say, oh my God, I have a headache, Justin, what do I do? And I say, take 1 gram of sodium, half teaspoon, put it in 8 to 16 ounces of water, drink it. And then they'll email me, oh my God, my headache was gone in 15 minutes. My headache was completely gone. How did that just happen? Well, you're excreting electrolytes, right? That's what happens when you switch to a low carbohydrate diet. You start to release more electrolytes in the urine, which means you need more electrolytes. So you may have somebody who's obese on a standard American diet who's eating tons of sodium and then they don't switch to Clovis, right? And you're saying, well, I'm on the Clovis diet and Justin has me doing salt shots every day and I feel like $1,000,000. And your friend says, oh, I'm going to do salt shots. But they had bagels and donuts and coffee with cream and sugar for breakfast, and they had pizza at lunch, and they had a Hot Pocket, and they had Pop-Tarts or whatever, right? They ate a standard American diet. Now they're just dumping additional sodium into their standard American diet. Well, sorry, so that could be happening, but there's any number of things. There could be leaky gut, like I said, inflammation in the gut, could be tons of things. So let's touch on this detox question. So let me read this one here. It's day 3 doing Clovis. I was doing great until I started craving sugar. Then I see donuts and ice cream, and now I can't stop thinking about it. I'm doing salt shots, awesome, and hitting my macros. Are there any other ways to get through the withdrawal my body is going through? Supplements to take? I'm scared I'm going to cave. This is a matter of one of my favorite books of all time, one of my favorite sayings of all time. Discipline equals freedom. This should reveal something to you, that you are not in charge of your own body, that you are a slave of a little tiny white powdered drug called sugar. This should be an astronomical wake-up call to you. It should piss you off. Like really, it should piss you off. Because you're understanding exactly what I've been talking about all this time for 62 weeks of sugar being crazy addicting, right? So you get off the sugar, you have headaches, you start getting cravings, you see a donut, you can't stop thinking about it, you get an ice cream, you see ice cream, can't stop thinking about it. The number one thing to do here is increase your protein intake, believe it or not. So when people start thinking about sugar cravings, they instantly want to come to me and replace their old junk, right? They'll say, what are some Clovis-friendly sugars I can have? Can I make paleo brownies? Can I make paleo blondies? Can I have dark chocolate? How much dark chocolate can I eat in a day to kill these sugar cravings? Blah, 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 blah. That's not the answer. The answer to a sugar craving is not to eat things that are more sweet. You're just going to break your brain even further. So if we know discipline equals freedom, you need to get through this first week to get rid of this detox, right? You need to get through the detox. Don't replace the bullshit with paleo-friendly, Clovis-friendly bullshit. Don't do it, right? Now, there is no bullshit on Clovis. There's a lot of bullshit on paleo. But don't replace sweet with sweet. The number one way to get rid of carbohydrate cravings in the detox period is 1, electrolytes. So we already talked about that, but she's hitting salt shots and hitting her macros. So go over your macros in protein. Eat more protein. Why is this? Because protein is the number one macronutrient for satiety. Everybody keeps saying satiety, and it's so fancy. And I always say satiety. You can say it whatever way you want, but everybody just keeps saying satiety, right? So for satiety, eat more protein. Basically, what it's saying is protein keeps you fullest the longest, makes you feel fullest, activates the correct hormones to leave you feeling full, right? So also, protein, generally speaking, is not stored as energy, where additional fat and or carbohydrates, glucose, can be stored as energy. Now, protein, let's say you hit all your macros and you're a small woman, you've hit 110 grams of protein, right? And you're having these intense sugar cravings. Go eat 30 grams of protein worth of grass-fed beef, right? She'd probably be looking at like 6 or 7 ounces of grass-fed beef, probably about 6 ounces of grass-fed beef, right? Just go cook 6 ounces of grass-fed beef and eat it, right? Or go cook 8 ounces of chicken breast and eat it. Half a pound of chicken breast and eat it. Good luck having cravings for just about anything at that point, okay? So that's what you want to do. You want to take these really micronutrient dense foods and these really satiating foods, number 1 being protein, number 2, most satiating being fat. So that's why something like a grass-fed ground beef would be a really good choice here. But even something like a chicken breast or wild caught fish, something that's very, very, very high in protein. Perfect Paleo Powder. Have Perfect Paleo Powder on hand, right? The post-workout has 11 grams net carbohydrates, and I don't care if you have that, right? So have a post-workout, do it with hot water so it tastes like hot chocolate, right? That's as close as I want you to get to replacing sweet things, right? Perfect Paleo Powder is not super sweet. Doing something like eating a dark chocolate or making a dessert that's paleo friendly, it's just your brain going straight back to junk food. It's making your brain think that you're eating junk food. The cravings will probably only get worse. So number 1 choice there is protein. Eat as much protein as you can handle. I don't care if you go over your macronutrient on protein. I really don't. So awesome, do it. I've had the issue for years, Carla. Once I started drinking more water, no less than 80 ounces a day, it went away. Yes, exactly. So she's talking about the swollen thing with salt. And that is, number 1, like I said, she's probably not drinking enough water, right? Because if she's dehydrated and just takes in, so it goes both ways. You could drink all the water you want and not be hydrated without electrolytes. You could take all the electrolytes you want and not be hydrated without water, in which case that puffiness, like I said, it could be the body trying to retain water because it's dehydrated, and you taking in the salt makes it more effective at retaining water. Now you get a problem on your hands. So you have to find that balance of electrolytes and water, right? Big deal. All right. What else we got here? You guys have any questions while I'm here, while you're here live? I don't want to just do all these pre-submitted questions from ama.iamclovis.com. Go there at any time, ama.iamclovis.com. Ask me questions. So we talked about some salt. All right, let's see what else we got here. This is a good one that I actually want to turn to you guys. So the question was, how do I decide what products are on my approved products list? This is somebody who's interested in finding more makeup brands because there's only one makeup brand in my approved products list. Well, let's just be totally honest and transparent here. I'm a dude, right? I mean, maybe some dudes who wear makeup will take offense to what I just said. I apologize, makeup wearing dudes everywhere. I did not mean to offend you, but I don't wear makeup. So remember, a lot of these things, I don't use very many products. I use very, very, very little products in my home. So when I made the approved products list, I was trying to create a resource for you guys because people seem to be confused about toxic versus non-toxic chemicals in the house and all these things. But at the end of the day, I say this to you guys all the time. I've never told you anything. I've never recommended anything that I haven't used myself. So me having a makeup brand in that approved products list kind of breaks that rule. I've never tried that makeup brand, right? I can look at the ingredients label and tell you if I think it's safe to put in your skin or not. So the reason why I'm bringing this up in this AMA is because I really like that question, because I want you to tell me about brands, right? So if you have a makeup brand or something like that that you think is fantastic and you think I should check it out and I should maybe add it to my approved products list, I would love to do that. I really want to crowdsource for the approved products list. That's what I want to do, right? So a lot of you know quite a bit about non-toxic products. So I want to hear from you. Many of you don't know about non-toxic products. So that allows me to crowdsource from the people who do know and pass that information on to the people who don't know about non-toxic products. So I really want to know what you guys think about this as well. And remember, anytime you buy an ebook from me, ever, you buy that ebook once, it's your ebook for life. For instance, if you go to iamclovis.com and buy the Perfect Paleo Cookbook, it doesn't matter if I add 30 recipes to that thing eventually. You will just get a new download link. You paid for it once, you get a new download link, and you just download the updated version. That's the beauty of ebooks rather than print books. A lot of people were like, why did you not print a cookbook? You kidding me? Do you know how expensive that is? What is it, 1947? I'm going to come out with a print book? What are we talking about, right? And I can't update it. So you buy this thing once. For instance, if you're a member of I Am Clovis, I pulled this off today, finally got you a solid discount code on Redmond sea salt. So if you're an I Am Clovis member, I can give you a discount code for Redmond sea salt, which will also be available in the cookbook. It'll be available on the approved foods list. It'll be available on the Perfect Fasting protocol. So I have to update all these ebooks to give you that coupon code, right? So I need to be able to grab those PDFs, update them, and then relaunch them, right? So now you have a Redmond sea salt discount code, which is fantastic. I've been working on that one for a while, a real while. I had to convince them and tell them how much you guys supplement your Redmond and all that, and how much I use it to get them to really do that, because they're a big brand. They don't really care about me, right? So I got them to do it, which is awesome. Yeah, Anna, beauty counter. Awesome. Okay, guys, email me, justin@iamclovis.com. If there's one thing I can promise you, if you leave a comment on a Facebook Live, I'm going to forget it instantly. Okay, so just know that. I'm not going to go back and look at these comments. So if you want to, you guys always know how to get a hold of me. I say it every single week on the podcast, justin@iamclovis.com. If you want me to look at something, justin@iamclovis.com, and I will check it out. Okay, what else we got here? Yeah, all right, awesome. Send me all of those. Send me all those. Okay, cool. Be awesome. What else we got here? All right, questions. Oh, okay, this is a cool one. If someone is going to eat bread, what type is the least damaging? It says, I know the best thing to do, this is Justin talk here, she talks like I do. I know the best thing to do is not eat fucking bread. Slowly converting the family, and some of them really want a sandwich every day, right? Okay, again, this is just habits. I don't like the idea, one of my number one beefs with paleo is that everybody switches to paleo and then does paleo-friendly versions of everything. Paleo-friendly donuts, paleo-friendly bread, paleo-friendly blah, 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 right? I don't like that. That said, I am going to answer your question, I promise you. But really, you need to understand that you're just ingraining bad habits here. So what happens is, I'm about to tell you about a bread, real bread. I'm not talking about like sprouted, whatever, blah, 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 the healthy bread that kids don't want to eat and families don't want to eat, right? So let's forget about that stuff, these brand names that are astronomically expensive to give you paleo-friendly or keto bread or whatever, right? I'm just telling you, you're ingraining bad habits in these people. Because let's say you're dealing with your kids and you give your kid a sandwich every day because they want bread. Well, when your kid is at school and is offered a sandwich, they're going to eat the sandwich that is not the bread that I'm about to tell you about. When they're at grandma's house and grandma gives them a sandwich, they're going to eat it. It's pretty much, you're better off to just teach your kid not to eat bread, right? I really wholeheartedly agree with that. I don't think anybody needs bread. There's nothing that human beings need in bread. Nothing, right? This is coming from a kid. When I was 16 years old, I used to drive from school to Subway and pay them $1 to hand me a foot-long loaf of bread, and I would eat the bread by itself. I love bread. I used to have cinnamon sugar toast for breakfast every day, just toasted sugar, butter, cinnamon sugar. Toasted bread, butter, cinnamon, sugar, eat it every day for breakfast, right? And I'd eat a foot-long bread by itself from Subway every single day after school. I love bread probably more than any of you could ever even begin to imagine, right? My parents knew this growing up. It was like my thing. I would eat like bread over candy. I used to love bread, right? Now I don't eat bread. I don't eat bread substitutes unless I'm in a special place that does bread in a very special way. So I had a call with Hillary Boynton, the lunch lady, just the other day, and she was explaining to me that they make sourdough bread in their schools. So homemade fermented sourdough bread. I'm going to give you an example. Hillary makes homemade fermented sourdough bread every day at her farm to table school lunch program in Topanga Canyon, California, which is amazing. So they have kids there that are literally celiac or gluten intolerant that can't touch these things, and they can eat this sourdough bread just fine. Now, I'm not saying if you have celiac disease, you should run out and eat sourdough bread. You could be totally different, right? But fermented sourdough bread. But the ferment to make that bread takes 48 hours, right? So here's where Justin comes in. You guys can live your lives however you want to live your lives, right? But if you tell me I want a sandwich so bad that I'm going to get an at-home culture and I'm going to ferment it for 48 hours, and then I'm going to mix it up with some other ingredients, and then I'm going to put it in the oven and I'm going to bake it for however length of time, and then I'm going to slice it up, and I'm going to take some meat and put it on there, and I'm going to eat it, and it's going to be so worth it. Go fuck yourself. Nope. Sorry. I have no desire. But that's just me, right? That's just me. I don't like to cook things that take me more than 10 minutes from turn on the oven to plate it. I say that to you guys all the time. I am all about simplicity, keeping things simple. That said, when I was in Norway, I ate fermented sourdough bread, and it was wonderful. But I walked into a restaurant, paid them money, they gave me slices of it, and I ate it. And it took me approximately 95 seconds, and it was amazing. In that regard, I may eat some fermented sourdough bread. When I was in Puerto Rico, we found this amazing little cafe. delicious espresso, like best espresso drinks ever. It's like eggs, bacon, sausage, and this amazing daily fermented homemade sourdough bread. Every time I went in there, I ate multiple pieces of fermented homemade sourdough bread. I'm not going to do it. You can do it. There's a great kid on Instagram. His name is Josh Wiseman, Weissman. I think that's his name. I hope I got it right. Let me see if I can check this out real quick. But he is awesome. So actually, if I can find his page right now, I'm going to share it with you guys. It's the beauty of having my computer here, because this dude is just notoriously making these amazing fermented sourdough breads. He's a chef. He loves doing it. So it makes sense for him to do it, right? For me, no, definitely not. I'm not interested. I have zero interest in it. Yes, I'm going to share this kid's profile right here. But he's just a masterful baker and chef, and it's wonderful, right? And I met this kid at PaleoFX and talked to him about it. He genuinely loves baking, absolutely loves baking. It's beautiful, right? Will the approved products list ever be included for Clovis members? No, ebooks are always going to be purchased. So the Perfect Fasting Protocol, the approved products list, the Ultimate Guide to Macros for Kids, which I'm going to talk about in a second, how to talk to your kids about weight, the Perfect Paleo Cookbook, these things all cost money to make. So they're not included, they're add-ons. You can get them as a member, and then they'd be available in the download section in the I Am Clovis membership platform. So awesome. Or you can just get them standalone at iamclovis.com, just download them, and they're yours forever, like I said. What else we got here? I make fermented sourdough for the kids. Awesome. Killer. That's fantastic. Totally do it, right? Ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah, that's Laura. Ain't nobody got time for that. That's exactly how I feel about it, right? It's exactly about how I feel about all these paleo-friendly things, right? Like, my dad makes paleo-friendly bread. That's amazing. Like, it's absolutely amazing, right? But he cooks forever. He loves to cook. He loves to cook more than I do, right? I love to go over and eat it. It's wonderful, right? But I get really impatient, really kind of annoyed with cooking, but I'm also a very, very high output person. I'm very, very busy. Okay. So, you know what? It would probably benefit me to slow down and learn how to bake or something and use it as like a meditation, but maybe someday. I meditate enough already. Okay. Still got stuff to do. What else we got? Some of us love making homemade things. Sourdough is taking us back to how things are made. Yes, 100%. I totally agree with you, Alyssa. If you want to do it, go do it. Awesome. 100%. I think everybody should do it. I just also know myself and my lifestyle and what I'm trying to do with, you guys see Clovis, right? It's not, I don't have boatloads of free time hanging around, but if you guys want to bake, go bake for sure. Fermented homemade sourdough, do that 100%. Yeah, check out that Instagram page. It's awesome. Anna, yeah, you're a baker. You make great. You make bread. Awesome. Paleo-friendly tortillas. Awesome. Keep doing it, guys. 100%. That's fantastic. I love it. What else we got? Okay, so there was one I was going to do about Whole30, but maybe I won't dig into Whole30 and just now. Okay, I like this one. I like this question. This is a good one, right? And stay away from Whole30 because I don't like crapping on other programs or whatever. Onnit brain boosting supplements. I know you mentioned them in your travel tips AMA. If I wanted to optimize time, brain, power, memory, are these worth it? Which ones? The only ones, Alpha Brain. Alpha Brain is the flagship product of Onnit. I actually like Siltep a little bit better. Alpha Brain is more mellow by Onnit. Siltep by Natural Stacks is very like, oh, I took a nootropic and it's changing my brain and this is wonderful, right? It's really, really, really cool. Now, the other option you have is to get a prescription for something like Provigil or Modafinil, which I have no problem with. I have Modafinil in my cabinet right now and it's wonderful. I love it. It feels absolutely fantastic. I'm more focused than ever on that stuff. So Onnit, I can give you a link to, I have Onnit discount codes and everything for members. So you can get a deal on Alpha Brain. I really do like Alpha Brain. I think it's great. And Siltep, both of them. But the thing is, I think people anticipate these things being the Limitless drug, right? Like the movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper is actually loosely based on Provigil. But it's never going to be that. So that's the thing. I feel like people get disappointed. It's the same thing as like people are like, hey, man, you told me to buy Restore for Life or Biome Super Greens, and I don't feel any different. And I'm like, of course, what did you expect? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you shot up heroin, like your entire physiological being is just going to change in a split second, right? Same thing for Alpha Brain. You may notice little things. If I take Alpha Brain before a podcast interview, I will probably say, and like, and like, so, when like you're doing like those words will probably be less and less, fewer. just as I'm speaking. So that's a really good thing. A lot of people need that, especially I get nervous about interviewing people because I get nervous they're going to say or like or a lot, things like that. Like I talk to you guys all the time. Probably say like a lot, sure, but it's not distracting. People that aren't used to being on camera or used to being recorded, these are crutches that they don't even know they have. Or people will say, a lot, like, I feel like I need to say it now. Now I'm going to be cognizant of it and aware of it as I say it. But people will say, hey, carbohydrates can make you fat, and protein is really good for you, and fat is really good for you, So all these little crutches that people have in speech, those nootropics can be really good for that. Alpha Brain, Siltep, they can kind of make those things vanish and just make you, like if you were doing a TED Talk, you probably want nootropics. Another wonderful nootropic, nicotine. Not even kidding, for real. I've done nicotine tablets broken in half and put up in my gums and just sat them there. And nicotine itself is really not dangerous. It's one of the safest nootropics on planet Earth, really. The problem is people combine nicotine with all sorts of junk. It's like a Jack and Coke. What's really bad for you? Is it the Jack or is it the Coke? I would argue the Coke is actually worse. In this case, the nicotine is really not bad for you whatsoever. But if you have that nicotine in a tobacco cigarette with tar and tobacco and all that, or nicotine in some nasty vape that has other chemicals in it, that's a different thing, right? But nootropics are really, really interesting. And then you can get into like racetams and all these different, you can buy them as bulk powders. I used to buy them as bulk powders and weigh them in grams. The nootropics rabbit hole is endless. But Alpha Brain's a solid product. Siltep is a solid product. Modafinil and Provigil, solid products, all these things. What else we got here? Does it matter at all what time of day you eat your carbs? Yeah, I argue that it does. Carbs are actually better at night, believe it or not, because there are certain systems in the body, certain types of cells in the body require glucose. It's the only thing that they can burn. There are certain cells in the body that need glucose. They cannot burn ketones. There are certain types of cells, right? So that's why we have gluconeogenesis. That's why the body can create its own glucose, because if it didn't, it would die, literally. If you just didn't give it dietary carbohydrates for a too long period of time, we would die. So the reason why carbohydrates are not necessary in the diet, you could never eat carbs again and survive, is because the body can make its own glucose. It takes things that aren't carbohydrates and creates glucose out of them. This is called gluconeogenesis because certain parts of the body require glucose. So if the body knows if we ever run out of this, we'll actually die like in a matter of seconds, right? So it can create its own glucose. So it's one of those things when you're going to be fasted throughout the evening, you may sleep a little bit better just by taking in your carbohydrates at night, just so the body's not like fighting for energy, right? So it's a good idea to give the body the glucose that it does need. And again, it's arguable that you really don't need it, but a lot of people claim that fat loss results and sleeping quality, the quality of your sleep is better when carbohydrates are ingested at night, like the last meal of the day, okay, like dinner time or something. What else we got here? Oh, this was a good one. Okay, it's do you think it's important to eat a variety of animal protein during the day rather than the same 2 to 3 options? Does it matter? Now, I love the way this question is worded because he, she specifically says 2 to 3 options. So if the question is actually 2 to 3 options, I would argue no, it doesn't matter. But the real question is, it depends. Like most questions, the answer is it depends. Okay, so the real answer is it depends. I'm sorry. Apparently I need Alpha Brain, right? I'm stumbling over my words here. So the question is, do you need multiple different types of animal protein every day instead of the same 2 to 3 options? Now it depends on what those 2 to 3 options are. Let's say those 2 to 3 options are chicken breast, wild-caught salmon, grass-fed ground beef. I would argue, no, you don't need anything else besides those, right? So it's all about micronutrient profile, okay? So this is what you have to think about with all these different meats. The micronutrient profiles of different meats, of different animal proteins are different. Now, that said, animal proteins are the most micronutrient-dense foods on planet Earth, the number one being organ meats like liver, okay? But let's say you eat mostly chicken. You're going to be missing out on some omega-3s that you would get from grass-fed beef or you get from wild-caught salmon. Or, I mean, if you're eating mostly, you won't miss out on much if you're sticking to red meat. Honestly, that's the thing. It's so tricky because people get all up in arms about red meat and people think red meat is so bad. But really, in terms of micronutrient density, it's about as good as it gets, like grass-fed ground beef in terms of B vitamins and all these things. So let's say if you're eating mostly fish, right, you're going to get a lot of omega-3s and you're going to miss out on some B vitamins that you may get from grass-fed beef. And it's just different ratios, different amounts, right? There's B vitamins in chicken. There's B vitamins in beef. There's tons of omega-3s in wild-caught fish. There's omega-3s in grass-fed beef, all these things, right? So it's the micronutrient density, but I'll give you an example. The reason why I say no to this particular person's question, because if you're getting 2 to 3 different types of meat, you're probably going to be fine. The other thing is the question specifically says every day. Every day really doesn't matter here. So let me give you an example. If you were to eat like, I think it's 4 ounces of liver. If you were to eat 4 ounces of liver every week, you would give your body all the vitamin A it needs if you didn't get vitamin A from any other food source, period, the entire week. So if you had 4 ounces of liver once a week, you'd meet all the body's requirements for vitamin A. That also means you could eat a half ounce of liver every day, every single day, 7 days a week, and still meet your body's vitamin A requirements, right? So like vitamins A, D, K, and E, these are fat soluble, so they can be stored in the body, right? So you don't really need to worry about the day-to-day stuff. So maybe you have a day where you eat grass-fed ground beef, and then 2 times a week you eat wild-caught fish because you want added omega-3s, or once a week you eat a little bit of liver because you want more vitamin A and a boatload of B vitamins, right? So I guess the short answer to the question is no, not really. You don't need, it's not like you need like 5 or 6 different animal proteins or something. That's not the case. But really cool question. I actually like this question. It's very interesting. What else we got here? Homeschool stuff. Cool. A bunch of people homeschool their kids. So yeah, you can, baking and stuff. Cool. Do you think, man? Do you think? I'm not a parent. I can't touch on these things. I have no idea. Okay, what else we got here? Well, we got about 10 minutes. All right, let's jump on this one because I think this is cool. I have 2 questions. One is not really a question. It says that. It's word for word. It says, not really a question, but I'd love for you to talk more about ego and mindset in tonight's AMA. Okay, cool. And the other one is a big one to unpack. So I haven't really gone here in AMA. So I'm just going to read you this question and let you know what I mean by this, because I bet you there are some other people who are struggling with this. The question is, well, it's more of a statement I'll read you. I've been focusing a lot on my mental and spiritual health the past few months, as I've been working on letting go of parts of my life/self that are not contributing to my growth. I've found that I'm experiencing a lot of fear and anxiety around changing things in my life that are outside the quote unquote norm. This has been particularly evident in my spirituality journey. I am a Christian and have been one my whole life. Over the past few years, I've felt a huge disconnect with the church, God, and even myself. Because of this, I've been working on strengthening my connection with God and my spirituality to become more in tune with my true self and purpose. My journey has led me to using tools like yoga, meditation, books on raising your vibration, etc. And I found myself afraid that I'm doing things wrong and anxious, not knowing if what I'm doing is wrong or sinful in the eyes of God. Other people's judgment has played into this. You've mentioned before that you've had a pretty intense journey of self-exploration. Did you deal with fear? How did you tell the difference between fear that is based on the dogma of others and authentic fear that should be listened to as a warning? Yes, my journey has been insane. I was I guess I would call myself a devout, born-again Christian for many years. I think Dad is in the room right now, so this is going to be really awesome because Dad could actually have a lot to say about that particular question. Dad is the most devout, born-again Christian I've ever met. And I grew up that way. He had me in the church and had me say the Lord's Prayer and go to church camps and all these things, right? I will tell you right now, and the thing is, I'm saying this right now with my super devout Christian dad in the room watching, because he has given me the freedom to talk about anything I want to talk about, to explore anything that I want to explore, to look into any religion, theology, any kind of philosophical literature that I want to absorb. Dad is totally cool with it, and he will talk to me about it. He won't tell me I'm wrong. He won't yell at me. He won't fight with me. There's no judgment there. So I'm really lucky in that regard. There are a lot of born-again Christian parents who will disown their kids for certain things, right? So let's just dive into this. I'm going to tell you 100% that all of the fear that you have is judgment based on other people's opinions. All of it, 100% of it. Why do I say that? Because I have gone deep down this rabbit hole, which meant I had to explore the Christian faith a bit more to understand it. And I can say unequivocally, now this is my opinion, okay? These are all my opinions, that all of the judgment, sinful behavior, the hellfire, brimstone, and damnation is all humans. Humans put that in your head. Humans put that in the scripture, right? So Dad had a turning point for me with this where he said, just look to the red letters. Now, at the time, I didn't know what he meant by that. I knew that there were red letter Bibles. And red letter Bibles, generally speaking, it's just described as the red letters are the words that Jesus spoke or supposedly spoke. Now, granted, anything with the Bible, we're trusting this, right? It was a very, very long time ago. They didn't have YouTube then, right? Nobody was YouTubing Jesus's sermons on the mountain, right? So we a lot of these things are faith, right? But we get a lot of our history this way. So yes, we can trust these things. We should trust these documents to a certain extent, right? There are also 150 gospels, and most of them are locked up in the Vatican and are not included in the Bible. So that's another real issue that I have. There is a lot of hidden Dead Sea Scrolls, all these things that are hidden from public view, okay? So what I did was I went out and I got a book called The Red Letters. This was a book that took the red letters, quote unquote, again, this is all hearsay, I guess, right? The words that Jesus spoke and put it into a book. That turned the tome of the Bible into a tiny little pamphlet that you could literally read in an afternoon. And I went through and I read this and I said, wait a second, none of the stuff that causes wars and fights and disagreements at the dinner table with your family and people disowning their gay children, none of that is in here. None of that is in the red letters. Wait, what? Wait a second. And then you go, oh, okay. We're relying on the word of people other than Jesus to tell us what Jesus meant by the things that he said, right? So that was tricky. Anyway, so I'm going on a rant here. That was a big turning point for me. And then when I started exploring psychedelics and spirituality, and, I've done things like rebirthing breath work, and I've done a lot of Dad does Wim Hof breathing and cold exposure and hot exposure and all these things. And I've been in very, very, very serious altered states. I have messed with a whole lot of altered states, right? I have literally met creatures that have spoken to me under the influence of certain substances, right? So I've been in the jungle with shamans. I've literally studied with shamans. And I will tell you right now, and I've had these conversations with family, that in the beginning, I had a lot of fear and a lot of guilt. And I've gotten to the point now as a 32-year-old man where the last thing I will ever do if I have children is tell them that if you do X behavior, you are going to hell when you die. I will simply never put a child through that. I can't think in my head of a worse form of child abuse at this point of my life, except feeding your kids sugar and shit like Fun Dip, okay? Let's just lighten the mood for a second. If you feed your kid Fun Dip and goldfish, you're a bigger dick than the parent who tells the kid they're going to hell when they die, right? That's a bad thing, okay? But I just want you to understand this, that it's very scary and these things stick with us. So I have a question for anybody out there whose parents were Catholic or Christian. The first time you had a sexual experience with another human being, what was one of the first things that popped in your head? Because I know it was one of the first things that popped in my head. Oh my God, am I going to go to hell? What a terrible way to experience one of the most beautiful things that two human beings can do with one another. What a terrible way to experience that. Women in particular, I feel like, suffer from this far, far more, where it's just this like, you're a slut. You're going to go to hell when you die. You're not supposed to enjoy sex. That's just to make baby and all these kinds of things, right? These all come, and I'm not just picking on Christianity, right? It's a lot of this organized religion stuff. I mean, we know what happens with radical Islam and all these things and people, what happens with this spiritual journey. It's a bummer to me that people are so afraid to explore because of punishment, right? So we fear punishment in the afterlife. We fear punishment in this life, friends, family, all the people who are going to have opinions about what we're doing, right? There are certain people that I was very uncomfortable or would be very uncomfortable. I was very uncomfortable the first time I said I did ayahuasca on a podcast. That's super uncomfortable, right? And I'm not even somebody who has to worry about getting jobs, right? So it's a big deal. I understand people are terrified to talk about this stuff, but the tides are changing. If you were to take a room full of billionaire CEOs from Silicon Valley and say, how many of you have had a meaningful psychedelic experience? They would all raise their hands. How many of you have had a meaningful spiritual experience? They would all raise their hands, right? So it's important to explore these things. What I want to be clear about is that I think the red letters are very powerful. And I think that everything Jesus said was very, very accurate, right? Because why did God become a human? To teach humans lessons about themselves. The only way to the Father is through me. Point at yourself and your heart, right? Self-awareness, everybody. Awareness is the game. Self-awareness, spirituality, meditation, mindfulness, learning about yourself, right? Removing the external noise. That's what this is all about, right? So I look at Jesus as the ultimate, most enlightened figure throughout all of human history, the most aware, enlightened, most important individual who has ever taught us lessons. And the vast majority of people have taken those lessons and run away with them and turned them into their own thing and decided that they hate this person and hate this person and that person's going to hell and this person's doing that, right? It's all love. That's it. And we even get love wrong, right? Because our partner cheats on us. Let's say we've been married to somebody for 25 years, right? And they've never cheated. That person may have had 3 girlfriends in high school and college, and they never cheated. We've been married for 25 years. That person's never cheated. That person cheats once. They are a piece of shit. They are unredeemable. They're a horrible, horrific human person. They've committed adultery, blah, 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 all these things, right? Wait a second. Just wait. We're not looking at the person. And we're not treating that person with love. We're not saying, what has gone wrong here? This is not the normal behavior for this person. This person has 99.9999999% of their life that they did the exact opposite of this. This is not their norm. This is not a bad person, right? But we possess them. They are ours. This is conditional love, right? The clingy. Most of the love that we know in America is conditional, right? That's why every single movie you see is people cheating and killing over love and obsession and kidnapping and all this crazy stuff, right? And parents, right? Parents conditionally love their children. So you're a super conservative born again Christian and all of a sudden your kid's gay. Wait a second. Oh boy, I guess my love was conditional. If I disown my child for that, then clearly my love was conditional. The message is love. We look at Buddha, we look at Jesus, right? We look at all these people, Gandhi. We look at Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa questioned her own faith all the time. She writes about it in her journal. She questioned whether God existed or not. And this is a person that just exuded love every second of her life, right? It's all about love, everybody. That's it. But we even get love wrong. If you're afraid to be by yourself, you're afraid to be alone, you're even getting love wrong. I'm a single person. Oh my God, you're 32 and you're single. Aren't you lonely? No. Not even a little bit. I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy, right? So anyway, I'm ranting now. This is getting crazy. Sorry. Forgiveness. So forgiveness is a form of love. Oh, got an alarm going off. That's never happened on a podcast before. I've never had my phone go off on a podcast. Because I'm on the computer. That's why I usually film with my phone. Anyway, I feel like I'm ranting here, and I really don't think that I'm qualified. I just want to say that right now. I'm not trying to give you life advice. I'm trying to share my experience with you. I was talking to somebody about this today. Really, all Clovis is me sharing my experience with you, right? What you guys have really seen is my journey of taking the Clovis Academy from 5 members to 1,500 members, from me taking 0 clients to 300 clients, from me selling this much protein powder a month to selling this much protein powder a month, to having a podcast and interviewing people. And now I'm going to launch this YouTube channel, all these things, right? I just want to share my life with you because I feel like I've learned an awful lot. I really do. And I've gone deep, and I've literally traveled to the ends of the earth to learn the things that I've learned. I've done breath work in Chiang Mai. I've studied with millennial men's groups in Thailand. I've done ayahuasca in Norway with a Brazilian shaman who was flown in. I've done ayahuasca in the deep jungles of Peru with shamans. I've stayed there for 8 days and did multiple ceremonies, right? I've done just an endless number of things to try to connect myself with, wait for it, myself. That is the secret, everybody. Without self-love, you cannot love. That's the part that people skip. There's a reason why I'm single. There's a reason why I'm not married, because I have lived the vast majority of my life without a fucking scrap of self-love. I didn't know what that was. I was successful on paper. Mr. Rock and Roll Justin, look, he's on TV. I didn't give a shit. I didn't love myself, right? Why would I be with another person? All of my relationships were toxic. I was jealous. right? Oh my God, she's talking to another guy. I'm going to beat that guy up. Whoa, right? Awful. I can't even believe that I was that human. So I'm trying to share my journey with you guys. So you have to understand that you cannot love another person if you do not love yourself. You cannot experience intimacy if you cannot love yourself. That's a real thing. So people look for love to complete their life. That's a mistake. Hence this giant divorce rate that we have, right? If Apple said, hey, our iPhones only work 50% of the time, more than 50% of the time they completely fail. Still want to buy this for $1,000? Nobody would buy that phone. That's what we're dealing with in marriage today, right? And I think it's because of this possessive act of love, right? What we call love. Possession is not love. It really just isn't, okay? So anyway, yeah, we're getting crazy here. We'll Google ayahuasca. All right, let me write ayahuasca for you. There you go. Check out ayahuasca. You can also check out, there's a great documentary on Amazon. I think I've shared this before, called Neurons to Nirvana. Check that out. Michael Pollan has a great book called How to Change Your Mind. That is a fantastic book about him exploring the world of psychedelics for therapeutic modalities deep in his 50s. I'll give an example right now. MDMA is in stage 2 clinical trials for curing PTSD. Let me repeat. MDMA is in stage 2 clinical trials for curing PTSD in soldiers. Literally, 1 session. What? How many veterans kill themselves every day? And now all of a sudden we can cure PTSD in 1 session with MDMA, also known as ecstasy, the main ingredient in ecstasy, this dance party rave drug that your parents swore you could take it once and it would kill you dead. Fear, everybody. Fear mongering. People make a lot of money when you're scared, right? They really do. The church makes an awful lot of money. The Vatican is basically its own country worth billions of dollars. And they have the scandals that just rock the entire world, right? So you got to think about these things. Think about it. We'll sit there, and this is something funny that always happens with me on the political front, right? You'll have certain left people or right people that just will demonize an entire, like, pharmaceutical companies are bad and I don't trust the doctors, and the Vatican is beautiful. It's the most wonderful thing ever. Send all of your money there. I tithe. Of course I tithe. I send them as much money as I can. What a beautiful organization, right? And it's like, it's silly to me. And there's a lack of self-awareness that I find with people, that they actually don't understand their own behaviors. And I find this in nutrition all the time, that people just don't understand their own behaviors. I talk about this there in an upcoming episode I have, Just Justin, that will be released this week, where I talk about people not analyzing their own behavior, right? You actually don't sit down at the end of the day and say, when did I lose my temper today? Why did I lose my temper? What was underlying? What was the root cause of that? Because that person didn't do anything. I just snapped at that person for no reason. What's really going on with me? I have an alarm that goes off on my phone every day at noon that says, check in with Jay. That means me, Justin. I have an alarm on my phone that tells me to check in with myself. I want you guys to think about that, right? Because people ask me all the time, hey man, you get in these AMAs, you always have so much energy and you almost saw the roof and you're so passionate, your energy's through the roof, this is fantastic, right? I have things, I showed you guys this in a Facebook Live the other day. I have these Post-it notes on my computer that tell me to release tension, set intention, love, empathy, gratitude. Every time I get to my computer, I meditate for 1 to 2 minutes before I enter into the next thing that I'm going to do, right? If I have to answer emails from people and they're going to ask me inevitably the same question over and over, because I'm getting new clients that don't know what the previous clients knew. So a lot of times I answer the same questions 50 times in a day. Does that bother me? No, not at all. Love, empathy, gratitude, right? So anyway, I hope this, hopefully this helped somebody. All right, let's read some stuff. What do we got here? Thank you so much for this, Justin. You're very, very welcome. Left my SDA church. Their pro-health message is bad. Veganism and vegetarianism in a church. Oh, good Lord. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. I do have a gay brother that's not very welcome in the church. Yes. I have a gay little sister, and she's the most beautiful person in the world, and I love her to death. And yeah, there's some people don't feel that way, right? And it's not cool. So anyway, what God wants is that you have a personal relationship with him. He wants you to have a conversation with him. Yes. Okay. So my stance on that is that the whole thing, the only way through God is through me, right? Self-awareness. That's my take on it. That's just a different interpretation. I have a very different interpretation of Jesus than the Christian faith has of Jesus and his teachings. But that's just me. Like I said, not giving anybody advice. I'm not qualified to give advice here. Google ayahuasca, neuros nirvana, how to change your mind, 22 a day. What does that mean? I'm not sure. 22 a day. Anyway, so I kind of ranted there, but thanks for asking that question. I think it was a really cool question. So it's already 9:07 p.m. This is AMA number 62 with me, Justin Nault from Clovis. So what else do you guys want to talk about? Anything? Any last minute questions that you want to throw in here before we duck off for the night? I'm probably going to spend some time in the sauna again, which I'm really excited about. It's just now getting warm enough to use my sauna because my sauna is in the garage. So if it gets too cold, like 30 degrees, 40 degrees, which is basically all of winter in Tennessee, it doesn't really heat up the way you need to. So I either need to insulate that thing or just wait till days like today where it's 60 something degrees and it's wonderful. So what else you guys got for me? Anything? Any comments? I'll give it a couple minutes here, see if you guys leave any comments or not. If not, we'll wrap this one up and move on. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for, in case you missed it, which is kind of weird. In case you missed it, happens every Friday on Instagram at The Clovis Culture. I usually do that about 3 p.m. on Fridays. So usually this would come out on a Wednesday. The podcast would launch on a Thursday. So tomorrow there's probably going to be multiple podcasts. So I'll launch the AMA sometime in the morning and then launch the In Case You Missed It podcast sometime later in the day. And then I'll probably do a Just Justin episode on Saturday. Can you please cite MDMA study off the top of my head? No, but I can put it in the show notes for sure. Yeah. Just literally, if you just Google MDMA phase 2 clinical trials, it'll pop. It's national news. It should be more national news than it is. I believe MDMA and maybe even psilocybin has entered into stage 2 clinical trials. MAPS is another organization you can check out. I don't know if it's maps.org. MAPS, let's see, .org. Yeah, go to maps.org and you can see the resources and the research, and you can donate. You can even participate in studies. So maps.org, that's a really good one. But yeah, so I can find a link to that, the clinical trials, and put it in the show notes. But I believe MDMA is in stage 2 clinical trials, and I believe psilocybin is as well. Now, for those of you that don't know, psilocybin is the primary psychedelic ingredient in magic mushrooms. And it is super potent, as Thailand taught me very quickly. So yeah, that's a really good one. So yeah, I think psilocybin is in stage 2 clinical trials as well. So anyway, tonight got a little weird here. Got a little bit out there. I usually don't talk about these things for that reason, for the same reasons that the person that asked that question was saying these things. Judgment gets thrown my way a lot. I know that there are a lot of really conservative people within Clovis, and I respect their beliefs tremendously. Like I said, my hero, my mentor, literally my God growing up was my dad, and he's the most devout Christian. He's the best example of a Christian that I have ever seen in my life. I've been spoiled by him. It's very, very hard for other Christians to be anything like my dad. So I've really been spoiled. So I have nothing but the utmost respect for devout Christians who really do it the right way, who walk the walk, and it's been great. Yeah, I've just been able to speak my mind and talk about everything coming up, which is really, really great. Assuming you'll just carry over questions asked that weren't answered in this AMA. Yes. I don't know that I have any questions that aren't there. Maybe you asked another one. If you asked another one, ask me right now. Like I said, lovely. Like the AMA, ama.imclovis.com is just a way for you to get questions in ahead of time. If you have a question, just ask it right now, that easy. These AMAs really are meant to be live AMAs. I take them live just because sometimes people get gun shy during these Facebook lives and they clam up and don't ask me questions. And then I'm just standing here talking to you guys like, hey, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. And I just kind of bring things up. So this is a way for me to just preload some questions, make sure the AMA episode is really, really valuable every single time that I do them. But if you have a question, yeah, feel free to answer it. Maybe there's one that I missed that came in after the AMA started or something. Like, I'm not actively looking at a feed of questions right now. I have them all stored from the ones that came in prior to this episode. But anyway, mass gains is going really well. So I have gained about 8 pounds. I've learned a few things along the way, which is really interesting. I think I need to tweak some things to make the gains come back, because I gained 8 pounds very, very quickly. I have another workout tomorrow. I did an aerobic threshold workout yesterday, and because I was just stressed out and just wanted to, and I think that was a mistake based on how my legs feel. A little nervous about the leg press day tomorrow. Not sure I'll be fully recovered for that, but mass gains is fun and not fun because it's just a tremendous amount of food, right? So I've gained, I'm up 8 pounds, and Tuesday was 2 weeks. So I've gained 8 pounds in about 16 days. Yeah, right? 16 days. Yeah, 8 pounds in 16 days. So I wanted 10 pounds in 30 days. So it seems like I will very much hit that. So maybe I'll just set my new goal for 15 pounds. The only thing is, if I go to 15 pounds, I'm probably going to end up gaining some body fat, just because the caloric surplus is going to be so high. So what I'm thinking is maybe I'm not going to worry about gaining body fat. Then on the back end, I can just do a 1 to 2 week shred of body fat and show you guys how that works too. So anyway, yeah, it's a fine line. If you really want to just gain as much weight as possible, odds of gaining, 1 to 2% body fat are probably pretty high. That said, if you want mediocre gains, like a 5 to 10 pound gain, you can do that without gaining any body fat whatsoever for sure. So anyway, just thinking about it, I'm going to tweak some things and see how this goes. Oh, poop. Yeah. Okay. Let's hit the poop question real quick. So the question was, let me see where it was because it was worded really funny. Let me find it. Okay. It says, this is a weird one. Poop. Literally. In the past, I've been told regular bowel movements are good, and when it sinks, it means the nutrients are being absorbed. Question: for a healthy person, or at least one that has adopted Clovis, what should bowel movements be like? Really disgusting, but I'm curious. Not disgusting at all. They should be smooth and soft. Nice, smooth, soft. There should be no straining, no pushing to get that thing out. It's basically going to look like a sausage, but softer. If you were to touch it, you probably don't want to touch it, but if you were, it would be like a smooth, soft sausage. So I can answer this one really quick. If it's super runny or wet or really nasty, right, what would be considered diarrhea? You're probably dealing with some kind of inflammation in the gut. That's usually inflammation in the gut. So as we know, like, your gut and your body are two separate things. What's inside the gut is not in your bloodstream yet. So if you have inflammation in the gut, right, that can lead to really, really runny, really nasty bowel movements, which means you probably have some gut dysbiosis as well. Maybe you have an imbalance in gut bacteria, literally some leaky gut, some inflammation, some gut dysbiosis, all goes hand in hand. There could be a bacterial overgrowth of some kind, or the reverse side of that, you're dealing with really lumpy, hard, really hard to push, not cool, hurt your bum, like type poops. And then you're probably dealing with a fiber deficiency. You're probably not getting enough dietary fiber. I would increase actually electrolytes first before anything else. Electrolytes and hydration play a huge, huge role in this. So everything that we talked about with water and electrolytes at the beginning of this episode, use that to increase the health of your bowel movements, and to increase like cruciferous vegetables, leafy green vegetables, spinach, kale, broccoli, asparagus, cauliflower, all these kinds of things, all the healthiest vegetables. Just load up on those. Even things like, you could try to get like sweet potatoes, or like you can even mess with, that's probably all you need. Yeah. I mean, even just the leafy greens would be, I'm talking, you can eat a lot of them. Assuming you don't have gut dysbiosis, you can eat like endless vegetables, right? You're welcome. Not so anonymous. Yes. there you go. All right, lovely. Yeah. So smooth and soft, like sausage. That's really it. And, I don't know how else to put it. So yeah, hard, lumpy, not fun, probably dehydration, constipation of some kind, fiber / water / electrolytes, super runny, super nasty, probably dealing with gut biosis, either inflammation in the gut or leaky gut or a bacterial overgrowth, or all of the above. You want it right in the middle. Smooth, soft, sausage shaped. Lovely. There we go. We're going to end it on poop. Sounds good, right? Yeah, or too much salt. Yeah, so if you overdo electrolytes like crazy, then you can very, very easily, your body will flush that out very quickly. And when I say flush, I mean flush. Picture a flush. And that's what will happen if you take up too much sodium and your body's not prepared for it. You're not used to it, okay? So check out MAPS, check out Neurons to Nirvana, check out How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. If you guys ever want to talk more about this stuff, we can. Again, you guys kind of dictate what my content is, because I want to know what you guys want to talk about. I want to know what you like and what you don't like. So there's probably some people that might not like the way that I did this episode. That could be, and then I'll learn from that. And hey, Justin, stick to nutrition, but it's my podcast. So, do what I want. But anyway, what else we got? Nothing? Everybody good? AMA number 62. I'm just going to name this one Poop, ... and Stuff. AMA number 62, Poop and Stuff. Sounds great. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for all of the questions. I really appreciate it. The pre-submitted questions were great. You guys did a great job Super interesting stuff to talk about, get the wheel spinning, get this conversation with you guys going who are here live. Thank you for tuning in on a Thursday at 8 p.m. Central. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for clicking the like button and the love button and the happy face button or the angry button or the sad button or whatever you need to do. Just get that engagement up. That really helps me on Facebook. New YouTube channel is just around the corner. I am working on the courses, the masterclass courses. Those are really, really in-depth, lots of work, but it's going to be awesome once it's done. If you want to work with me one-on-one, go to iamclovis.com/start, iamclovis.com/start. I would love to work with you. That would be fantastic. Members, be on the lookout for a new coupon code for Redmond Sea Salt. And also I have a new video on how to spend your Clovis coins in the Clovis store. So I'm going to post that for you guys as well. Tomorrow will be in case you missed it on Instagram. All the things, go to clovis.show, check this stuff out, clovis.show, search all the AMAs, search all the podcasts, go listen to the most recent one with Abel James. We talk a lot about social media. It's a fantastic episode. All right. So thank you guys so much. AMA number 62. My name's Justin. I'm out of here. I'll see you tomorrow in the Facebook groups. Love you. Good night.